Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and in this episode, I'm talking with Uma, who's a health coach and yoga teacher based in South Africa, and she shares her personal journey of growing up with a diet full of sugar and flour, and then how her health began to decline and what finally inspired her to make a change. Uma offers simple, powerful tools to help calm the body and reduce cravings. So we'll get to our chat in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. And while you're at aftersugarclub.com, why not take the cravings quiz? I created this cravings quiz specifically to help you start thinking more deeply about what triggers your cravings. And when you do this quiz, you'll get your personalized score as well as my practical tips to help you take your first step to get rid of cravings. Those free resources are at aftersugarclub.com. And also, come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_lifeaftersugar. All right, so here's my chat with Uma. All right, so today I'm here with Uma, and Uma is in South Africa. Uma, can you tell us a little bit about how you grew up and what you used to eat when you were a child?
Okay, I grew up in the 80s and it was a lot of sugar. And I think we ate home cooked food, but around our special days and special occasions, there's a lot of fried food, a lot of flour, a lot of sugar, and it's amazing. And really, when I was younger, I didn't have a huge need for sugar. You know what? I was one of those kids that preferred salty food. Mm-hmm. And I think it was around the time that I became a teenager, probably the hormones, the sugar cravings kicked in. And I began to put on a lot of weight. And my weight has been up and down. But when I began to work is when my diet was really mostly processed food, mostly flours and fried foods. And so naturally, I put on a lot of weight. And it began to scare me because diabetes is so prevalent in my family. I thought I was condemned to get diabetes. And I had a few medical crises. And I started to think to myself, I really do not want to go down that road because it just brings so many complications. So I would say that me deciding to quit sugar originally came out of fear.
Okay.
I just could not see myself having to ever take the medication or inject insulin.
Yeah.
And I was heading down that path.
You were heading down that road, right? Where did you grow up? Was it in South Africa?
Yes, I was born in South Africa and I grew up in Durban.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you saw family members close to you who had to inject themselves with insulin, is that right?
Yes, yes. My
And
mom wasn't injecting herself, but my grandmother did.
yeah. And so, what was it about seeing your grandmother inject herself with insulin that made you think, I don't want that?
Firstly, I can't stand needles, so I couldn't fathom having to do it at every meal. And it just caused so many added complications. And I saw it happening around me, and it was just something I actually thought I was going to end up diabetic, and it didn't matter what I did until I started doing the research. And I would say this is one of the reasons that I even began to become aware of what I was eating. And then I started to research it, which is when I began the health coaching training
Okay.
and learned a lot of like the nutritional side of it.
And where did you do your research? Where did you find that information?
So I began just basically with books. I'm an avid reader.
Yeah.
Books are my life, and I'm in the process of writing my own book now. But it started with books, and then the internet became so popular and so much easier to like gain access to so much of beautiful information. So I started there. And that's when I realized it's not just sugar, it's everything that turns into sugar.
Yeah, that's a huge wake-up call, a huge mindset shift, because we do tend to concentrate on the sweet tasting sugar. What else did you find that turns into sugar quickly?
So it's bread, it's rice, it's pasta, it's chips, it's anything that's made out of flour. And if you look at our present diet that is so common and normal, that is what it is predominantly, with a few vegetables sprinkled in. And it, it looks like it's getting worse.
Even
So
in
this
South
is
Africa, in South Africa as well?
Yes, yes. And it's also, I think it's so common in so many cultures. I mean, there is this form of starch everywhere. But I feel like when I stopped with the starches is when I started to see the biggest changes from my skin to my digestion to just my energy levels. It literally filters out into every area of your health.
And that's pretty amazing because we are told, at least that's what I'd understood, that we have to have a certain amount of starches in on a healthy plate, as it were.
Yes. And so it was so hard to break away from that because like in with the Indian food, rice is the base of every meal. And I haven't cut out rice completely, but I did in it there was the beginning stage where I did. And as I got my bloods tested, and I still do this regularly, I noticed that, okay, I passed the 30-year-old mark where I was still good. Then I passed 40 and I was still good. And then I started to see that you are not destined or you're not fated by your genes.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter how strong you think it is, that it is 80 to 90% lifestyle.
And so, are you saying that diabetes runs genetically in your family, but that you did what it took not to develop diabetes?
Yes, yes. And I work with so many clients where I've actually reversed it.
Reverse diabetes?
Yes,
Yeah, because they
yes.
talk about reversing it, not curing it, there's a distinction. Can you explain that distinction?
So curing would mean that you're totally going to negate it. And I would say that everything is sending us signals, right? Like your body is always on your side. And when we develop first the insulin resistance, which is then going to become diabetes if left untreated, that insulin resistance is a sign. And what typically happens is that people get put on medication for it before you are actually a diabetic, which is not solving the root of the problem, which we need to be taught what we're doing wrong so it never becomes diabetes.
Mm-hmm. And who is going to teach us that?
That's the thing. So this needs like what you're doing with your podcast. I am so grateful to you, which is why I was so excited to be on here because we need more information like this.
Yeah,
We need we need people like you spreading these messages.
but I'm not a doctor. I'm not even a nutritionist.
And neither am I.
And so why would people listen to us?
That's the thing. But the good part is we get to be living examples and we get to inspire people because I always say that the best person to give any advice is going to be the person who's gone through it, who's had the medical scares and who actually fears developing a certain condition. And, this is where it started for me. But once I got my diet down, there's something else that I realized, and that it's not just what we're eating. Because a lot of us know now what's causing it. We know our habits. But there's this other part, this other piece of the puzzle that is so massive. And that is stress.
Hmm. Stress is a big, big deal, right? And are you saying that stress can affect diabetes?
100%. Because when you get stressed out, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. And it needs to shovel sugar into your bloodstream because it is preparing you for survival. It is preparing you to run from an emergency. And the sad thing is that we are living in that state of stress. The way the world is now is that from the moment you wake up, it's literally, and we know that we need cortisol to wake us up, but we have stress stacked upon stress. So, team that elevated level of stress in your body and just the way you're operating with the worst diet and the worst habits, which is more sedentary, you're not moving your body, and that also helps us to relieve the stress and to help to drop those stress hormones. We have the perfect recipe for diabetes, and not just diabetes, many other illnesses.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds simple enough when you put it that way. And yet, diabetes is really, I would say, an epidemic, although it's probably not technically an epidemic. Um, all over the world, apparently. We tend to think of North America only, but here you are in South Africa. And still, are there high levels of diabetes in South Africa as well?
So I haven't looked at the statistics, but I have worked with a lot of clients, and so many of them have either received the insulin resistance diagnosis and already on medication, or they're already diabetic, and it's not even an age thing anymore. Because previously we would think that, oh, it's maybe for older people, but now there's children becoming diabetic.
Mm,
And it's scary. But I think here with the food and your lifestyle habits, the nutrition part is the easier part to get down. The stress part is more challenging.
yeah, yeah. And so, how can you, how do you help people to reduce the stress in their lives?
All right. So the most simple tool is your breathing. But in order for you to reduce your stress, you first have to recognize that you are in a stressed state, right? Because it's become so normal for us, the sitting in traffic, the everything. And then you bring sugar into the picture, and sugar is going to light up your brain. And instead of you having that grounded, focused mind, you now step into that mind of survival. You now move into that monkey mind. And in that state, anxiety is going to increase.
Yeah.
So when you can slow down your breathing, you bring down your stress.
It sounds so simple.
I mean, it's the most basic thing that all of us have to do to be alive, but usually the most difficult thing is the most simple thing, right?
I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews. And when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar.
Like,
Oh, yes.
we tend to overcomplicate it. But firstly, I noticed as a yoga teacher, nobody ever teaches us how to breathe properly.
Because you're a yoga teacher as well, right?
Yeah, so most of the time we sometimes holding our breath. Like I noticed I did that. If I am worried or angry or even sometimes excited or concentrating, I'm actually holding my breath. Or I used to get panic attacks, which were really scary. And that would literally feel like you cannot breathe. And then you notice that most of us are breathing into our chest. We're shallow breathing. And when you shallow breathe, naturally, your heart is going to have to work harder. When you slow down the breathing, you slow down your heart rate and you slow down the activity of the mind.
Yep. And those of us who do yoga experience that. And the irony is that when you are stressed, the last thing on your mind is yoga and deep, slow breathing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how can you bring
Okay,
those
so
two
let me tell
things?
you. Yeah, okay. So with, say now we're really ill, so we have different levels of stress, right? But if you are so stressed that you can't even sit still, you're only going to make your stress worse. And that is where movement comes into the picture. The way to burn through that stress and to bring down those stress hormones is to move your body. And it doesn't have to be an elaborate workout. You don't have to go to the gym. You could just get up from your desk and take a few steps around you. Maybe you want to play with your kids for a bit. Maybe you just want to walk outside and get some sunshine. Just moving your body is going to help you when the stress is extremely elevated. That is what you need to do.
Move
And
around.
then only can, yeah, move around because cortisol wants you to move.
Okay. And then once you've got it, kind of got it out of your system, then you can breathe, do the breathing exercises.
Then you can do the deep belly breathing. And so that's in yoga, we call it box breathing. That is what is going to help you to get into that place of regulation, of balance, of homeostasis.
And in your practice, what do you find people get stressed about?
So I work with the energy system. So, on a more complex side, right, we are all surrounded by an energetic field. And every interaction, people, places, experiences, is an energetic exchange, right? And what happens is that we're already holding certain what we call affinities in our energy fields. And these energy centers are feeding and dictating to the body and the mind. Now, when you hold these heavy, dense energies and you don't clear your system, what's going to happen is that you end up with these energy blocks. And so you can't push past ever to that higher state of mind, to that higher brain, which is also why meditation is so important. So I work in the energetic space where I will go into a person's energy field and clear out those heavy, dense energies.
Wow.
But that's, I would say, and the way the world is working is we look at the physical manifestation, but the root of everything is in your energy field. This is where it actually starts. If you reverse engineer, let me give you an example. I have a headache. The headache doesn't want to go away. And then I want to now ask myself, what was happening when I got that headache? Who was around me? And then let's tick off all the boxes of physically. Are you hydrated? Did you get enough sleep? Have you eaten well? So we check off those boxes. Now, if all that is in order, we look at the mental or the psychological. Okay, so what is your mental state like? Do you feel stress? Are you anxious? Are you nervous? Are you angry? And if you track for that, you want to find a way to release that,
Hmm.
which there's different avenues of releasing, which is I'm also an embodiment coach. And that is how we release that stored tension and energy from the body. Then we move to energetically. Who's draining your energy? What's draining your energy? Is it a relationship? Is it maybe a, an environment that you need to be in? And how can we protect ourselves? What can we do to protect ourselves? So there's so many layers and levels to it. And, for me, emotional eating was a huge thing. I've suffered with disordered eating for most of my life. And we must speak about the emotional hunger,
Yes.
right? When we crave sugar, we're craving sweetness in our lives and
Yes.
we're craving comfort. We're craving, remember, sugar. Why you crave sugar, one of the reasons you crave sugar is when your nervous system is dysregulated, you need the dopamine hit. And sugar will light up your brain like a drug,
Hmm.
more even than some drugs.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's been proven. Yeah.
Yeah, so with that part, to stop that emotional eating and potentially help you to remove sugar from your life and the cravings, you need to maintain your energy. You need to protect your energy.
Gosh, that is something that, a lot of people wouldn't necessarily think of. You would say, well, to bring down sugar levels, you just need to eat less sugar, and that's the end of that. But what I'm hearing from you, and actually what I've experienced in my own life, is yeah, it's slightly more complex than just what you eat. And it also has to do with not just the level of stress, but how you deal with the stress. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Yes, definitely. How you deal with the stress and becoming aware of the areas that are causing you stress so that you can decide now how can you drop that or maybe even remove yourself from that because it's this energy leakage that causes all of these symptoms in our bodies. And we're all exposed to it because we're humans living in a human world interacting with people all the
Right.
time and
I often say you can't necessarily get rid of stress, but you can learn how to deal with it in other ways than reaching for sugar.
yeah. And remember that stress has a purpose. sometimes stress becomes fuel, and stress is there for us to be able to react in an emergency. But so many people are frozen that without that sugar rush, without that extremely sweet drink or that extremely sweet coffee, they can't even function.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because they've never had to.
Hmm. And I just hate the way sugar is in all the kids' food.
Mm.
That is, it's just so upsetting to me. It's worse than normal food, the things that are marketed to them. It's like we want our kids to develop things like ADHD, and to we want them to be unhealthy. And it's like we're setting them up earlier and earlier for it. It's just really sad.
Yes, and I think the information that we get as parents is also lacking because a lot of parents think they have no other choice but to give their kids these highly processed, highly sugar-filled snacks and foods, so-called foods. It's almost like
Hmm.
there is no alternative or nobody's shown us any other
Yeah,
alternative.
yeah. And the other thing is that processed foods bring convenience. And everybody wants, in this world, everything must be fast and quick and convenient. But there are little hacks that, as parents, we can use. And the most important thing is to be a good model to your kids. So
Mhm.
don't tell them not to eat a specific thing if you're eating it as well.
Yeah, because they have, our kids, right? They have us in their sights 24/7. They don't listen to what you say as a parent. They will watch what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, it's our responsibility to not just in that realm of what we're eating, but how we behave, how we are bringing down our stress levels, how we interact with our children, the presence that we can keep. And notice that if you have sugar, you cannot be present with another human being.
Hmm. Wow. That's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had one piece of advice to give someone who wants to reduce their stress and reduce their sugar intake, what would you tell them?
So, I want to give a tool that I use to help you to contain and protect your energy field. Okay? And
Smashing.
that is, we can try it now. So I want you to imagine that something's really upset you and you can feel energetically you're all over the place.
Hmm.
If you just clasp your hands, just try it now. You can feel yourself come back. You can feel you kind of creating an energetic barrier
Hmm.
and grounding back into yourself. And this is something that everybody can use at any time. It's not something weird. You could literally be sitting at your desk and clasping your hands. Maybe somebody comes in and says something ugly to you. You can clasp your hands. And in that moment, go within. Within, you can't lose your energy. And that will prevent you then from raising your stress levels, from reaching for that sweet snack because you need some comfort,
Hmm.
and all of the other symptoms that it causes.
Amazing. So
Sugar,
simple.
reaching for sugar being one of the top ones.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think what we lack in general is the tools that, of course, nobody was able to teach us because they didn't have them either. But the tools as an alternative way to dealing with stress and emotions and everything else, the need for comfort, totally valid needs, an alternative to sugar, basically. And look
Yeah.
what you just showed us. Well, I mean, I realize we don't have the video on the podcast, but just clasping your hands together like that. It's so simple, and that can become an automatic tool as well.
And it's not just, you can use it in every area of your life. And it's it's so important that we learn how to do this. It's so important. I cannot, you know, stress it enough.
Hmm.
But with that, you are also going to now teach yourself how to come back to yourself.
Yeah.
And you team that with some deep breathing. And I always look for the solutions and the tools that are free.
Yes.
I don't want us to add another medication into the picture or add something crazy, things like intermittent fasting and things like going to whole food, breathing, oxygen is free,
True.
right?
True.
Like, this is what we need. We don't need more people selling us more things.
Absolutely agree with that. Yes, yes, absolutely. Oh, thank you so much, Uma. That's so inspiring. And I love how simple your approach is and the things that you teach. I think we need more simplicity in life.
Absolutely. Life is so complicated already.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much for coming to teach about energy and sugar.
Thank you for having me, Netta. It's been such a pleasure and an honor for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Such an inspiring conversation with Uma, and I hope that her story gave you some insight into how sugar, stress, and cravings are more connected than we think, and how simple tools like breath, being present in your body, and also yoga can help make a real difference. And if you're wondering how to put these ideas into practice, well, that's exactly what I teach inside of my 12-week program, the Freedom from Cravings Formula. Because I created this program specifically to help you go deeper into your relationship with food, especially sugar, and also into your relationship with yourself, so that you can finally get rid of cravings, slim down, and feel more in control around food. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed to help you get control over cravings so that you can finally live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly, and feel confident in your food choices so that you can ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon, and so that you never feel like you're on some kind of restrictive diet. If you're at the stage of your life when you're finally ready to look after yourself, let's chat. You can talk directly to me on a free clarity call at any time by going to aftersugarclub.com and clicking on Program at the top. You'll also find the link with the show notes together with this episode. So go to aftersugarclub.com. Speak to you soon. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.